From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and Akashvani, this is Stumped.
Hello and welcome to Stumped, your intercontinental hit of news, features and debate from the quirky world of cricket. I'm Alison Mitchell in London, where I'm very happy to have had my first birthday here in the UK for 5 years, and only the second in the last decade. So it did feel pretty special to be having it with friends and family this side of the world for a change, but also keeping up with the Australian Open tennis, with the Under-19s Women's World Cup, teams like Samoa taking part in that, which is great to see. And following the fortunes of England's men, a white ball reset hasn't got off to the best start under Brendan McCullum.
Jim Maxwell, I'm up the coast this week. We'll get back into the more serious side of cricket next week when Australia plays Sri Lanka in a test match, which is always a bit more absorbable and satisfying than these frolics that we keep getting ad nauseum in the world of white ball cricket, isn't it, Charu?
There's also a new set of 10 commandments for the Indian team for test matches. More on that later. But of course, there's a bit of protest too by the players saying, well, really? I mean, you're not going to bandwags, are you? I'm Charu Sharma for Akashvani in Bangalore at home once again, about to leave for Mumbai. So it'd be nice to be back there.
Coming up later in the show, we're going to be hearing from South Africa men's test coach Shukri Conrad about his team reaching the World Test Championship final and more. But first of all, the women's Ashes are once again Australia's after they retained them at the earliest possible opportunity down under. Now, the hosts won all 3 one-day internationals and the first T20 to secure an 8-0 lead on points against England, who now haven't won the Ashes since 2014. And the fallout has been strong as regards fan reaction on social media, with many people in England calling for change. Jim, I'm going to come straight to you on this one. Are you feeling happy, smug, or did you just want more of a contest?
Oh, I'm certainly not smug. We always want a contest, whatever the series might be. There's been general level of disappointment, not all of it accepted, it seems, by some of the England players, with our colleague, BBC colleague Alex Hartley, saying a few things about the fitness or otherwise of the England side, certainly a few of the players. And I don't think there's any doubt that the comparative level of athleticism and agility is obvious. Australia is a furlong ahead, and I can't see that changing in a hurry. So England have got a fair bit to do, but they need to face up to a certain reality about where they are if they're going to improve. And they also have to deal with the fact that Australia's just got more talented cricketers. And at times they're playing very good cricket, but even when they play poorly, they're still winning. So England have got a bit of work to do.
Just in the first T20 match in Sydney, Jim, I mean, yeah, you talk about strength in depth. The Aussies didn't have captain and wicketkeeper Elisa Healy or off-spinning all-rounder Ash Gardner, 2 really key players, and yet, they still won by more than 50 runs. And yes, 2 things, strength in depth, but also there is this mentality, winning mentality, goal-setting mentality about this group of players, isn't there?
I've watched cricket teams over the years, and one of the most important people on the field is the wicketkeeper. If you're going to lift the standard of energy, of quality in the field, your wicketkeeper needs to be demanding of the players. We keep saying this in sport, particularly in cricket. You always tend to notice the team more when they're losing than when they're winning. And there are a few aspects of England's play that just stand out. It's in their preparation, it's in their athleticism, their fitness, you name it. And Australia just excel. And they're driven, they're hungry, they're driven, and they play like it. So I hope that by the end of this series, England do manage to lift themselves to where they appeared to be coming out of the previous series. But it doesn't seem likely at the moment. And I don't think that's great for the spectacle or for the game. We want to see consistent contests between the better nations. When it's one-sided, it's a bit like the days of Warne and McGrath when Australia won so much. Even the newspapers were getting sick of it. They said, when are we going to get a debutante in this Australian team? Give us something to write about, for goodness sake. Well, that's happening now with the men's team, of course. But, they've got a bit to do, haven't they?
Sure have. And what is coming up at the end of the series is, Charu, the 4-day test match, which is the showpiece occasion being played at the 90,000 capacity MCG. It's going to come at the end of the series with the Ashes long retained. Whereas in 2023, the series started with the test. Would you have preferred it if they did it the other way around?
Probably not, because there's so much one-day cricket compared to just that one-off test match. And of course, the test match has more points. So if the test were to be played right off, you'd probably need much more acclimatization in the country you want to play. And you go straight into a test match, you lose that. You lose a lot of points, and it's very uphill thereafter. Now, of course, England have lost everything. So it's, I mean, they can't possibly recover now. But I quite like the idea that you're much more used to the country's pitches, environment, atmosphere, food, everything before you play the big one. And I know the ladies play very few test matches, so it's not that they're used to test matches as well. So much more used to white ball cricket. So it technically is a more equal contest in white ball cricket, especially the shortest version. As we know, the difference between two teams is narrowed when you play the shortest form of the game. So chances are that you're likely to do as well as you can against a tougher team in the shorter format. Alison, I'm compelled to add, and I might sound a little naive, forgive me, but we're talking about the best players in the land for all teams. And for them to require motivation because of a new leader or any leader at all, that's a bit excessive for me. I would tend to think that, when you're playing for the nation, you're up for it. It's regardless of who's the captain on a given day, because the ball's not going to go up in the air, to quote something very elementary. And you're wondering, now, who's the leader of the team? Who's the captain? Should I take the catch or not? You give 100% all the time, regardless. And yes, perhaps there's the reason for change, just for some additional, I suppose, churn. But to think that one captain has left, another one's come in, and therefore you should give 100%, that sounds a little strange to me. You've got to go in there, regardless of captaincy or coach, and give 100 and play to your potential. If you're not good enough, you're not good enough.
I mean, these sorts of times always lead you to, if you think back to, men's Ashes series, when they go horribly wrong for England, it brings forth reviews and change the structure, change the domestic setup. Well, England are about to change their domestic setup, moving from the regional system of domestic cricket to women's cricket now being aligned with the counties moving forward. But if we were looking for answers as to why suddenly it feels the gap between, which these two teams who are regarded as the best in the world, England and Australia, then why is that gap suddenly now feel as wide as it's ever been? And is that, do you think, Charu and Jim, partly to do with level of investment in that domestic structure? I mean, we referred to Australia's strength in depth, and they have had the head start on everyone in terms of professionalising their domestic game. That's been in place for a lot longer than England. But, at some point, the investment has got to start paying off, doesn't it, from the England point of view?
Well, I have to suggest that Australia are athletically very bold in whichever sport they play. They're ruthless in every aspect of sport, which is why they're such a winning side, not just in cricket, but in many other sports that they play regularly. And other nations just need to, in England, for instance, you mentioned Australia invested early in cricket or women's cricket. I think England's done just as much. It's an attitudinal thing. Now, the English girls, in this case, we're talking about the women's Ashes, are they up for that level of athletic boldness and strategic boldness and ruthlessness in terms of selection and all the rest of the ingredients that make up a winning side? Are they that team? Are they those individuals? They just need to get a lot harder in every aspect of the game. And the Indian girls too, and many other nations. Australia are certainly the best in the world when it comes to that, may I use the term or phrase, extreme athletic boldness.
And you would hope that no more interviews get refused as well, because it's really not a good sign for a professional team to not be able to take what is fair comment, critique from a pundit, whoever that pundit may be. That for me is a sign of a team who are not comfortable within themselves. And you need to be working in a professional era. You've got to be able to take these things on the chin and get on with your cricket and the job in hand, which is winning games of cricket.
From the BBC World Service, this is Stumped on ABC and Akashvani.
Now, in January 2023, Shukri Conrad was appointed as head coach of the South Africa men's test side. At the time, he told Stumped that he faced a monumental task. Well, fast forward 2 years and he's turned around the fortunes of the side, won 7 test matches in a row and will be taking them to Lord's for the World Test Championship final in June to face Australia. Well, earlier in the week, I spoke to Conrad to find out how preparations for that will be going and to explore the influence of his captain, Themba Bavuma. But first I asked him just how he feels about his team right now.
It's been a great run for the side. Obviously came in at a time where things weren't great, both on and off the field. And then we had the debacle of New Zealand having to send the 3rd and 4th string side to New Zealand. But that's been ventilated, so we all know the reasons for that. And then we went to the West Indies, first test drawn, won another test match, and then realized that if we won 6 out of 7 remaining test matches, we'd probably get to the final. 2 of which was in Bangladesh, where we hadn't won for more than a decade. And we came back with a great result there, 2-0. And then obviously the pressure was then on, having to beat Sri Lanka and Pakistan back home. And we managed to do that, being 7 on the bounce. The guys were phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And thrilled that we're going to be part of the showpiece at Lord's in June.
You appointed Themba Bavuma as captain. Why him at that time, and how do you feel he has thrived in that role?
Yeah, so that was one of the other tough ones. Obviously, breaking the news to Dean that Themba was going to be the captain, and I think that the big thing is a trust thing, that he trusts me implicitly. I mean, there isn't enough money in the world that you can pay me to beat Themba Bavuma. Being Themba in South Africa is tough. I think the level of abuse he gets and the attention he garners unnecessarily on the social media front. I mean, that's an active part of our lives nowadays. And just generally, he's like one test match away from being a rubbish captain and a rubbish player again. And that's unfortunate. And it's either laced with race undertones, or I don't know what it's laced with half the time, But
how did he deal with it, and how do you need to support him in dealing with that? Has that been part of the strength?
I think that's been part of the strength, is that I've taken a lot of that off his plate, so to speak, and given him perspective on a lot of things. And like I say, for the first time, he probably feels that there's a coach or someone that's firmly in his corner and is going to back him to the hilt. And in and amongst all of that, we still have robust conversation on the cricketing front end and then from a leadership point of view, both him and I. So I think we're a great fit for each other.
You said about reaching the World Test Championship final that it's the biggest thing for Test cricket. Why is it so significant to you and South Africa, and what impact do you hope it will have on Test cricket in South Africa?
I mean, it's no secret that Test cricket has taken a bit of a backseat, especially in South Africa, and especially nations outside, or shall we call it the big three, for want of a better term, simply because it's not a profitable and a viable option when you're struggling for finances to still have all these test matches, and where India and England and Australia are then in and amongst themselves, they're the big attractions, and that's where all the revenue is. So they play each other in 5 test matches, and we've got to pick up the club. So it becomes really tough. And I think it's great for us that, especially post New Zealand, to show all of South Africa that Test cricket is still something that we cherish as players. I think the administration has obviously also got it in behind us with that. And Test cricket is on people's lips now. We've got the SN20 currently, but you cannot mention SN20 without mentioning the Proteas Test team at the minute as well. And that for me is great. Everywhere you go, people are wanting a part of you. They want to listen to your conversation around how things have gone with the Test side. They're proud of it. And I think, like I said, it's the biggest thing for South African cricket that we've managed to reach this final and hopefully go on and win this final. I think we're certainly not just going to be satisfied with reaching the final. We want to beat somebody,
You haven't been happy, Shukri, with those who have criticised South Africa's route to the final. The World Test Championship is such that, yes, countries like South Africa have played largely 2 test match series. So England, 22 matches in the cycle, Australia 17, and only Sri Lanka have played fewer than South Africa. Is there a more equitable way, in your mind, to organising all of this?
Well, there has to be a more equitable way. And I agree with it's lopsided and it's not the best way of doing it. But I certainly take umbrage where I get told that we've beaten nobody. and what have we done to get to the final? Well, we won 7 test matches on the bout, 3 away from home and 4 at home. From where we were to where we are, I think that's a hell of an achievement. I don't take exception to the fact that it is not an equitable format. I think we all know that it's not. And the ICC is actually going to take control of this and say, right, this is how it's going to work. I haven't given it enough thought as to what's going to be the best way forward. I can tell you now, 2-tier, I don't think is the best way, but I think once that is fleshed out properly, and maybe it is the best. I don't know. Like I said earlier, I haven't given it enough thought. But I think what was said was both disrespectful to us and to the nations that we played.
So how do you compare your side to the Australian side you'll likely take on in the final at Lord's?
We fancy our chances to start off with. As a younger side as we've got, I think they are slightly on the other side of this of the spectrum, but we're still a hell of a side. They probably arguably the number 1 test side in the world. They dealt with everybody in the way that Australia normally does. But I think we're similar in the way we play our cricket. We're quite aggressive, and we respect them. But it will be foolhardy of them not to respect us. But I'm sure they do. We've got a bowling attack that's comparable, the best in the world, if we've got everybody fit and firing. And then our batting lineup's inexperienced, but like I said, we try and cram as many batters in that lineup as we can. And I think it's going to be a great test match.
Shukri, it's fabulous to speak to you. Congratulations on getting to the World Test Championship final, and we'll look forward to welcoming you to London in June.
Thanks, Ali. I look forward to your welcome. Thank you very much.
Well, you could say it's a World Test Championship final pitting youth against experience, shall we say. Well, that's all we've got time for on this week's Stumped for Akash Varney. Don't forget you can follow us on X. We're at BBCWS Sports and use the hashtag BBC Stumped. And check us out on YouTube as well. Go to the BBC World Service YouTube channel. Thanks to Charu, Sharma, Jim Maxwell and all of you for listening. Speak to you next week. Bye-bye.
Stumped is a BBC Sport production for the BBC World Service in association with ABC and Akash Varney.